Morning, Houston. This is Oscar Hines. Welcome to the Natural Nation Network here on Synergy Radio. We are absolutely beyond excited to have two very special and wonderful people back. Good morning, Alexis. We have not had an opportunity to say Happy New Year since we were not on live last week.
No, Happy New Year.
It is wonderful to see you. You are looking well and dapper as usual. You've gotten younger since the last time. I've gotten a few. You know, I've aged a little bit since last time. You see this whole goatee thing I got going on?
I like it. I like it too.
I didn't eat too many New Year calories, so I'm trying to keep it tight, keep it right for the new year.
You know what to do, girl.
Yeah.
Good. Well, you know, I gained a little bit of weight, and then I just got committed like last week, and I lost the 5 pounds that I gained back. So I'm good now.
So you're ready.
I'm right there. That's
impressive.
And so it's great to have these two wonderful ladies back. How was your New Year's? This is Tracy and Heather. Welcome back from Wellbeing Simplified.
Absolutely.
Did you all have a good holiday? I know you were doing a little traveling.
Yeah, I had a great holiday. Actually, I was close to your home, your native Costa Rica. I went to Nicaragua.
Ooh, God.
I love it there. I love it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Wonderful place, wonderful people. So it's a great place. I thought about you while I was there.
Wow. See, now I'm jealous again. That's awesome because you were in Costa Rica, right,
I was in
Heather?
Costa Rica over Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, we
And then,
tend to like that part of the world.
Yes, and then Tracy in Nicaragua. I love that.
Sounds better when you say it.
Nicaragua. We have to make it sound more exotic.
On his arm.
Well, the key is not to let your tongue touch the top of your teeth. Yeah, Nicaragua is a Nicaragua.
Don't let your tongue touch your
Do not let
I
it. If you had
I don't even want to try. I'll mess it all up.
And then it's on tape.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, that reminds me of the rich Corinthian leather from way back. Remember Ricardo Montalban?
Oh, my goodness.
For some millennials that are here, they won't. Well, ladies, it is so good to have you back. And we know that January, the first of the year, everybody makes their New Year's resolutions. They start talking about health again and what they want to do and getting vibrant. And today we're going to be revisiting and going back a little bit deeper now into one of the other key essential elements of health. So can you share that with us? And let's get our audience started.
So
Folks,
if you're
take notes.
First-time listener, Wellbeing Simplified is predicated on the idea that health and well-being doesn't have to be overwhelming. And that there's simple things that you can do daily to immediately affect the level of your health, to immediately affect the level of your happiness, your longevity. And so we've separated that into 3 R's. And our signature 3 R's, we've covered the first 2, are first release. You know, before we can have that vibrant health that we all crave, we've got to let go of the stuff that doesn't serve us any longer.
Right.
And so we can do that through proper hydration and through breath work.
Yes.
Both detox kinds of mechanisms. And then the second R is rejuvenate. And we covered that the past few weeks before the new year. And rejuvenate is the nutrition. So now that we've released the toxins, now we bring in the good stuff. 7 veggies per day is what Tracy has told us.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that. That is actually hard, but it's been working.
But remember, serving isn't as huge as you think.
Yeah.
Well, I remember you guys introduced, was it the Clean 15 and then the Dirty Dozen?
Yes. Right. Yeah.
That's good stuff, yeah.
I mean, we'll come back. We're going to circle around to all of this stuff again, and we're going to put layers on the Wellbeing Simplified and add more as we go on in the program. But in that second R with rejuvenation, after nutrition, we covered meditation, and that was our last show. And, you know, there's a saying in the meditative world called begin again. And so every moment, you know, we think about 2018 and New Year's, and people make these really overwhelming New Year's resolutions.
Right.
And sometimes it's a setup for failure. You know, if we can just think about every breath or every moment, like here I am right here, I'm going to begin again and be new. You know, Tracy gave me my Christmas present from Tracy was this beautiful water bottle. I should have brought it. A beautiful water bottle that says, "Today I choose to be happy." It's like in this moment.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's rejuvenation. And so today we're going to delve into our third and last R, and the first piece, and that is reinvent, and the first piece is movement. And I want you to notice that we didn't use the word exercise on purpose.
Yeah.
So, and Tracy's got some amazing things you may not have thought of to help movement become simple.
Right.
And daily easy things to do.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. but then we also will defer to your expertise.
I know.
If you want to be intense, go see Alexis.
No pressure.
No pressure, just regular
Yeah.
movement.
Right.
But
Wellbeing
that's
Simplified.
key, that people know the difference, and that it doesn't have to be strenuous. It doesn't have to seem overwhelming. It can be simple well-being things you can do. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And exercise is so important. But sadly, we have become a very sedentary culture. So the average American is sitting 9 to 10 hours a day. And, you know, you've got work, you've got in the car, you're sitting for meals, you know, sitting to watch TV, all these things.
Right.
And so many studies, actually over 10,000 studies have proved that being sedentary lowers your life expectancy, shortens your telomeres. Heather's talked about that. Increases your cancer risk, increases your risk of Alzheimer's, increases your risk of depression, so many different things. So what we want to talk about today is what are some of those things that it causes, but also how can you incorporate more movement into your life? Because 6 hours of exercise, we talk about this a lot. I mean, 6 hours of sitting negates the benefit of 1 hour at the gym. So if you go and have a great workout for an hour and then go sit at a desk
6
without
hours.
moving for 6 hours,
Right.
or not moving much for 6 hours, then you have lost the benefit of, and I'm not saying not to exercise at all, I'm saying you need to do both.
You have
need to do both.
Right. And then you have more energy. I had started this exercise. I get movement. I'm going to call it movement. When I was at work, called Workout with Alexis, where during the day you actually set timers and you get up and do 10 squats, maybe do a dip on your desk, push-ups.
Perfect.
Regular movements like standing up, moving your arms regularly, getting that blood flow going, simple things like that definitely helps, because then you're not sitting all day 8 hours straight, and you're able to, then you have more energy to really get the work done, because you feel like you just got up and did something for yourself. Right? That's the key thing, for yourself. So go ahead.
Well, no, and there are two
I love it. That's exactly
what we're talking about.
point.
And there are two reasons additionally, aside from just the emotional feel good if I got up and did something, I'm not just a slug sitting at this desk. You're bringing oxygen to your brain. So that's going to help you think more clearly. It's going to help you focus. It's going to help your body produce those mood. And that's the second one. Your body will produce those mood enhancing or mood balancing neurochemicals. And Heather, actually, you can talk about that a little bit, because that's your area. Heather's more about the mind wellness.
Just super quick. I mean, it doesn't take the hour working out in the gym for this to occur. If we can get our heart rate up, if we can move our bodies and get our mind and body talking to each other. And I've got one really easy exercise. Don't let us end without me teaching it to everyone, because we can do it right here.
Okay.
But if we can do that, we stimulate something in the brain called it's in the brain and the body, called the HPA axis. And it stands for hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis.
Nice.
And those are three of our most important organs when it comes to our autonomic nervous system, when it comes to our neuroendocrine and hormonal regulation. Bottom line, when it comes to the stuff that makes us feel good,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Or the
yes.
stuff that makes us feel stressed out.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to quell the stressed out. We want to get that cortisol quiet, which is secreted by the adrenal glands, and it's a stress hormone, and we want to bring up those good feel-good hormones. And so we do that. Exercise has a profound effect on anxiety and depression and on that HPA axis, and it can hardwire our HPA axis to be have a positive feedback loop, as they call, versus a negative feedback loop, because it's those three hormones looping and talking to each other.
Wow.
So 30% of us walk around with anxiety and depression disorder, and that's kind of depressing to think about. But there's simple ways, we're going to talk about just in the next few minutes, that you can do to bring that anxiety and depression down. HPA axis.
Yep. You're 150% more likely to be depressed if you're leading a sedentary life. 150% more likely.
No wonder we have this depressed nation we live in.
Right.
Folks are
Everyone's
sitting on
angry.
the couch all the time. Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Wow.
unfortunately, well, and what happens is it becomes a cycle because you sit on the couch, you don't have any energy, you don't feel like it, you get depressed. You're not going to want to get off the couch and do something if you're depressed, and then it becomes a habit. And we all know habits can be broken, but it's hard, and especially if it becomes a habit with other people. So if your whole family
environment,
it's hard. It's hard to break out of that. It's hard. It's hard to. But if you do things like what Alexis was recommending, setting a timer on your phone. This is the reminder to do squats. 10 squats. That's all it
10
takes.
Squats. That's it.
There's an amazing exercise.
Hey, where'd she go?
Just give me 10. Give me 10.
Also, a standing desk.
Right.
Yes.
Which is what we're doing right now.
You can request
Exactly.
those too.
Thanks,
That's the one thing too that I know in my office now we have people going to ask for the standing desk, not just wanting to sit down the whole throughout the day, 8 hours straight.
Well, let me add a caveat to that.
Because it's a start, right?
It is wonderful, and getting up is so important. But they're also finding that people who stand all the time, like cashiers, have really bad health problems as well. So it needs to be a standing desk where you're moving. So put your files down here, squat to get your files. Put something up on your water glass up on a shelf, so you have to reach for it. You don't want to just be static.
Yeah, I can see that too with the posture, as you're saying, because even with standing all day, cashiers and all that, having to bend and that. So that, so that's
You know who really gets it is hairstylists. They are usually standing up until the varicose veins kick in and all kinds of other stuff. So it requires, to your point, moving around or maybe having one of those mats that help the impact of that standing. So, folks, you are listening to Wellbeing Simplified here on the Natural Nation Network. We are speaking with Tracy and Heather, two experts in both the physical and the emotional and the spiritual side of being well. So I am loving this wonderful, delectable meal you prepared so far. We are going to take a break, folks. We'll be back in just a moment. And we are back. You're listening to the Natural Nation Network here on Synergy Radio. We are talking about Wellbeing Simplified, and I'm loving this conversation. So just now, we were talking, Heather, about movement and getting our body sort of flowing.
Yes.
What does that do for us emotionally when we start connecting
Well,
that way?
we mentioned the HPA axis. And so our minds and our bodies talk to each other. Remember, thoughts carry energy.
Yes.
Just like a food substance carries energy. So what we think is going to affect our physical health is going to affect our mental health. And so we're probably going to think a lot of happier thoughts if we're feeling good in our physicality. So how does it help us? Well, it's that symbiotic communication loop that we talked about that goes through that HPA axis. The hypothalamus tells the pituitary gland to release certain hormones, and it goes down, talks to the adrenal glands, which is where our stress hormones are, and it tells them we're either in a stress state or we're not in a stress state. And exercise helps quiet that loop and make it a positive loop that happens in the brain and the body. There's other ways that exercise can help our mental health. When we do, let's say, a more of an aerobic exercise, which please know that when Tracy and I are talking about movement with Wellbeing Simplified, we try to find nuggets of research-based ways to make movement simple. Like Tracy said, reach for your water bottle, and I'm saying reach across your midline when you're standing at your standing desk, and drink half your body weight in ounces that we talked about in the first show of hydration. Right. Reason why we want to go across our midline. When we go across our midline, we integrate the right brain and the left brain. And so we're going to be more functional at work, or we're going to be clearer in our thinking. We're going to feel better. Okay. And I'm going to teach that exercise in a second about that.
Yes.
But I want to say that when we don't hear us say not to do aerobic exercise. I mean, do what Alexis Moore tells you and employ her, please, as your health coach. And let her be the boss of you when it comes to just getting physically fit, because that's where the really profound research is, on those whatever. And I'm not even going to try to say what you know so easily about how many days a week and for how long we should be getting our heart rate up and sweating and stretching and strength training and doing all of that stuff. We would be remiss if we didn't mention that. And when we do those things, let's say the aerobic part of exercise, not just the little tidbits of movement that Tracy's going to say dramatic. Got to tell your cigarette thing in a second about what happens with how it's. But anyway, when we do that, we are forced to breathe deeply. When we aerobically exercise, what happens?
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
So remember our second show?
Right.
Breath work.
Yep.
Yes.
And so when we breathe deeply, we can incorporate that. So I'm all about, two birds with one stone, incorporating all of these pieces together. We're activating that vagus nerve, that communication piece between our gut and our brain. And so it's another way, and we talked about that in the second segment, to feel better, how breath work takes us out of that sympathetic fight or flight and into that parasympathetic rest and renew.
Yeah.
And that's where that runner's high comes from. The release of the feel-good hormones that occurs from that deep breathing and the activation of the vagus nerve. So we just feel better. A lot of people don't know why when we aerobically exercise. So that's another way that it can help.
Well, and think about when you're sitting at a desk. You're a lot of times hunched over, but it's really hard to take deep breaths when you're sitting at a computer like this.
Right.
And we're now getting all these problems with, neck problems and upper back problems because of that one position. And our bodies were not meant to sit in that position. Look at a 3-year-old kid. How do they sit? They squat. They squat. And that's a natural thing. And if you look at, indigenous people in different countries that don't have the chair that we're used to, that's how they sit. They sit in front of the fire like that. It's natural. It's normal. It's great for our spine. They don't have back problems like we do. They don't have heart disease. They don't have all these things.
Yeah, and I just like how the simple breathing techniques help to de-stress the full body, not just up here, but when you really take those deep breaths daily and de-stress daily, like the high blood pressures, the obesity, everything starts with stress and disease in the body. So if we just take, time daily to just breathe, much stuff in itself can be cured with just that.
Yeah. So Tracy, you maybe can speak to this. What about the endocrine and lymphatic system as it pertains to movement?
Very good point.
See?
So you breathe all these words and you were like, what did he say?
I know. So
What's the name of that book?
Right?
Your lymphatic system is the system, kind of like your blood vessels that are throughout your whole body, and everybody's had swollen lymph nodes. So the lymphatic system are tubules that connect lymph nodes that remove toxins and help your immune system move around the body. Okay? The problem, or not problem, but the issue with not moving in the lymphatic system is movement is what makes the lymph fluid move through the lymphatic system. It's not like how your heart pumps blood through the blood vessels. You have to move to get that lymphatic fluid moving. If you don't, toxins build up and you have higher risk of immune system disorders in general, but cancer, because that's the one thing that everybody is, kind of focused on. It's scary. It's touching us all. So movement will help that. Even if you can't get up all the time, isometric exercises can help. So that's when, and you can talk about this, that's just when you tighten a muscle for a certain period of time and then release it. That muscle tightening will actually pump the fluid through. We all know people who have sat in a bed and you don't get well until you get up and start moving around because you can't move that lymphatic fluid. So really important for the immune system to get moving. Even, I know it sounds silly, but if you're starting to feel sick, if you start to feel something come on or you want to get your lymphatic system moving, standing up on your toes and bouncing up and down. Hitting your thymus, tapping your thymus. Or thumping your thymus is what we call it.
Do them all.
Yeah. And it does. There we go. Dancing. Dancing is amazing for getting lymphatic fluid moving, and that's fun. That's not. That's movement, and that's not.
I feel like you're working out, actually.
That's right.
Something that you want to have. That's fun.
And that's why we need to change our mindset, because so much of us, I hate exercise is what people say, but move.
Yeah, go salsa.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Salsero. All right, now we're talking. No, I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a workout, though.
It is, but once you're done, you feel energized, you're revitalized, and you're ready to just take on your day or night or whatever it is. So very good points. So you made a real key point just now, Tracy, and that is that this lymphatic and endocrine fluid only circulates through movement of the body.
Yep.
It doesn't have the electromagnetic impulse the heart has to sort of move that blood around.
We are the pump.
We are the
are
pump.
Yes. And one of the things,
manual.
I know, one of the things
I
made
like
me
that.
think about this with kids dancing. If we look at children, and this is going to segue into your exercise.
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
So important to see how they naturally and instinctively move, like the squatting. A kid's, squats, a little kid squats. Kids move, they dance, they have no, they'll move around, they have fun, they jump up and down on the bed and do all these things that is fun for them, and they also crawl. And this is important. And they skip.
And they skip, right? You used to always
When
skip.
did we stop
Right?
skipping?
I think I
Skipping, if you can be that person that the next time you park at Whole Foods,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm having bad images. You're like, skip to my loo, and you're running in the supermarket.
Skip.
Really?
they're just across the parking lot.
Okay.
No,
People are like,
on there.
okay,
Be that
security.
But no, skipping is one of the best mind-body exercises you can do.
Really?
We have 3 midlines in our brain and in
Wow.
our body, and when we cross one part of our body to the other side of our body, it's this midline that separates the right hemisphere of the brain and the left hemisphere of the brain. It goes all the way down the body. Okay, so if you do a cross crawl, which is the exercise, you can't see the bottom part on video of my body, but basically it's like a marching in place, but swinging your arm
back.
in front of your
No, you got
your
it. I see
body.
this exercise.
And if slightly, I'm lifting my legs up like a march, and opposite leg, opposite arm stimulates whole brain conditioning. If you could do 50 of those or 100 of those, you're going to get the heart rate up as well. But you're also doing one of the best things you can for your brain.
See,
you're going to
that's
be more
good.
productive at work. That's why I put your water bottle, change it,
Yeah.
But that's like with Alexis talking about, stopping every 10 minutes or 20 minutes and doing something. If you could do 50 cross crawls, you're going to also significantly improve your cognition. Babies crawl for a reason. Think about it. It's opposite arm, opposite leg, and there's a subtle kind of moving in front of their midline when they crawl. Children that don't crawl and they go straight to walking have a high incidence of dyslexia.
Wow.
So it really affects our brain, our learning, our cognition, even our mental health. So a cross crawl, again, marching in place, go in front of that midline, pop out 20 of those, throughout the day. Skipping is going to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Because you go up and down, there's a top and bottom midline, you're moving forward, there's a front and back midline, and you're also doing opposite leg, opposite arm swinging in front of yourself. And that's that right, left midline. So skip in that grocery store parking lot.
Skip, by golly.
If we all go back to being kids,
Yes.
again, not really caring what you look like in the parking lot, going like that, right? And just doing it for your own health, not really caring. Then that's when you de-stress also, because it's just like
It's joyful.
carefree, joyful
You're
state.
gonna laugh. Carefree.
Yeah, you're gonna laugh at yourself and everybody else too.
Yeah.
That's the good thing,
You're
right? That's the
making
good
them
thing.
laugh.
Wow. I like that though. So you're swinging and you're moving your arms and legs in opposite directions,
Yes.
and that helps the cross line
Yep.
because we have the right and left brain.
It's bilateral integration is the fancy
Bilateral
term.
integration.
The kids do it instinctively. And it's so good
Right.
for
Well,
you.
no, I distinctly remember going to the playground and I said, guys, we're going to do some bilateral integration. So,
We're going to get our midlines integrated.
like, Oscar, you need therapy. I'm like, yeah, okay. Gosh, folks, you're listening to Wellbeing Simplified here on the Natural Nation Network. We are having a wonderful time with Tracy and Heather here. Always
Absolutely.
extremely educational. And I will say this is the extended version, the extended edition today. We get to have you all a little bit longer on the air. So
Yes.
I'm totally excited. And I've got some completely off-center questions to ask. So I hope you're ready for this.
Oh, boy.
So don't go anywhere. We are going to be back in just a moment. And we are back. This is the Natural Nation Network here on Synergy Radio, where it all comes together. We are having an amazing conversation about ways that we can stay healthy in this new year. And we have been covering the R's. And rejuvenation is one of those really important ones. And obviously movement is a central part of this. So we've talked about it from the physical and even the emotional standpoint. Are there any other nuggets we should be thinking about as it relates to this movement and motion?
You had some great stats that you were sharing with me when we were talking about this piece that just were mind-blowing.
Yeah, there are. One of the ones that really, really impacted me when I was doing studying about this topic was the correlation between the life expectancy and the amount of time you sit watching TV in front of the TV. Obviously sitting.
Right.
So the British Journal of Sports Medicine did a study and found that for every hour over the age of 25 that you spent sitting in front of the television, just 1 hour, every hour, your life expectancy can be reduced by almost 22 minutes.
Wow.
So the scary thing, even scarier thing is, cigarettes. We talk about cigarettes all the time, and it's the biggest worldwide, or one of the biggest worldwide killers or contributors to disease. Cigarettes actually only have an 11-minute, for one cigarette, 11 minutes decrease in life expectancy.
So if you just walked and smoked, you'd be better off. No. No, that is really scary.
Yeah.
So 11 minutes for a cigarette versus 22 minutes just sitting still.
For an hour, yeah.
Wow.
So what if I want to watch my
lazy.
TV show?
I know.
Right.
So I'm not going to stop my Netflix.
Right.
But
So
put some weights in front of the TV. Do
That's
some cross
it.
crawls.
That's it.
That is a great opportunity to be active.
So if you have, unfortunately, I don't get a chance to watch too many shows that I love anymore. But if you are watching where there's a commercial, right? What a
That's the
grand
key.
opportunity.
Yep, commercial breaks.
To do your skipping or
Yeah.
your cross crawling or stop and do your 10, 20 squats.
Right.
It all adds up.
I know. Actually, I've come across my favorite new exercise. So,
that?
and you probably already know this. It's called the nitric oxide dump. Are you
I don't
familiar with
think
that?
so.
So nitric oxide builds up in our tissues, and when you exercise, it's released, and that's what dilates your blood vessels. It's really important for your heart. It brings a lot of oxygen to your brain, great for the lymphatic system, immune system, and all these things. You can do a high-intensity workout, and you'll release that nitric oxide. Usually takes about 20 minutes, which is great. I mean, it's a condensed workout. Yeah. Or you can do it in 3 minutes 3 times a day. So I will post this on our Facebook page and on our website. It's literally a 3-minute series of exercises that are squats, arm raises. You don't need weights or anything. They call them non-jumping jumping jacks. So you're just swinging your arms around.
Go up like this.
Yep.
Right.
So it's and then
that.
the other one is just raising your arms above your head. It's so easy to do. Takes 3 minutes. The time for a commercial break, right?
Okay. Right.
There you go.
And if you do it 3 times a day, it's as effective as doing a high intensity interval training workout. Your body builds muscle in between those segments, so you have to space them at least 2 hours apart because it takes that long for the nitric oxide to build up. And it's not nitrous oxide, it's not the laughing gas.
Yes.
But nitric oxide, which is one of the most important anti-aging chemicals in our bodies. So it's really important to get that circulating through, is the nitric oxide. So look up nitric oxide dump. Or we'll post it on our Facebook page.
Okay.
It's so easy to do, and it's a perfect 3-minute little
So I
exercise.
can't I have to space it out 2 hours. If I do 3 minutes, I have to space it out 3 hours. But if I do one of those during my TV time, I'm going to mitigate that 22 minutes of lost longevity. What did you call it?
Yeah. So if you get up every 20 minutes, that's
just during at least
perfect
one
timing.
commercial, just do it once if you're watching a show. And then maybe, if you're so inclined, during other commercials, do 20 cross crawls or
And
walk
drink your water in
downstairs and
between.
fill up your water.
The one key thing that, like Tracy said, is that you don't have to have weights. I think that's the one thing people think sometimes too when it comes to working out. But your body weight itself is enough.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you don't have to have dumbbells or kettlebells and all that stuff. You can just really work out with your own body weight. And
Can
I do
you
that a whole
show us
lot.
one? Can you show us like something you could do with your arms, like the isometric?
You're talking about
What
the
could you
ones,
do?
Like,
Like-
you can just stand here like this and go just cross body.
That's cross crawl.
Here, right
There
here.
you go.
And this helps your abs, right? The tightening of the muscles. You're saying squeeze them and then let them go. Every 10 seconds, if you squeeze and let it go, that in itself tightens up those ab muscles, and then before you know, you have a six-pack sitting down. Tighten and let go.
There we go.
So when you're doing your cross
Let it go.
crawls
Sitting.
for your mental
Yeah.
health and for your cognition and your focus and all
Yep.
of those things we talked about, and if you really want to just jumping jack, if you can just bring some mindfulness, bring
Yeah.
attention to that core area
core.
and just think tighten core, while you're
Yep.
doing a cross crawl. However, you can do knee to elbow.
Crossbody abs, we
You
call
can
them.
just,
Yeah.
but bring
Crossbody abs.
mindfulness to, then you're really getting more bang for your buck.
Right.
Love it.
Nice.
And you're
Keep it
getting
tight.
your lymphatics. That helps
That
stimulates
flow.
the lymphatics
Yes.
to flow.
So
exciting.
we're looking at getting younger. We're looking at movement that's going to improve our circulation, and 3 minutes will get you 22 minutes at the end of your life.
You can say.
I'm loving that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so Tracy and I
Well-
were talking about this segment, and there was that big piece that came out about 2 years ago, the 7-minute workout. That was
I
all
remember
the
those,
rage.
yeah.
Remember that? And it's good stuff. I mean, if you don't have an hour to go work out, I mean, literally, and it's also a mental game, because I might be overwhelmed by this idea of I've
Yeah.
got to, get in the car, drive to the gym, pay a trainer, But if I say, you know what, I'm in my kitchen, I'm throwing my yoga mat down, and I'm putting on my iPhone for 7 minutes and just YouTube, Google the 7-minute workout.
workouts
It's
for
a
free.
For free.
I
And
know.
it's-
They are.
But when Tracy and I were talking about this, so that 7-minute workout is one example that got really popular. That is a high intensity interval training. And maybe you can explain exactly what that means, but the nitric oxide is also an HIIT, an HIIT, high intensity interval training, but you're getting also that extra chemical that I think people don't talk about enough, the nitric oxide, which is your anti-aging chemical.
That's right.
Dumping into the body.
That helps
like
those
that.
telomeres from shrinking. So you,
And with the HIIT exercise is basically saying that you don't have a long rest period.
Right.
So you're really only resting like 30 seconds or so in between each workout. So that's why they call them high intensity. So you're not doing one workout and then, resting 2 minutes. It's
Right.
just like you do a workout and you're resting 30 seconds, a minute in between each workout, high intensity. And that's what gets the heart rate up to where when you stay there and you hit that heart rate,
Yeah.
then you start burning the calories.
Yes, the fat.
The fat, yeah.
And it works. I mean,
Absolutely.
and gaining the muscle. I used to do high intensity interval training on my elliptical just in my home. And just, I would always tell myself, so again, it's a mental game. I would tell myself, I've got 20 minutes. I've got 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. Like, I can do this for 20 minutes. We can do anything for 20 minutes. Come on.
You can, right? And you have to make the time. I just feel like you, with having kids, being moms, working full time, that if you don't take care of yourself first, what good are you for your kids or anyone else if you don't make that priority? 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to.
Exactly.
We said that like
So-
survival.
So when you have to, there's an urgency.
You have to do it right now.
So when we really start to dissect the various aspects of illness is really the perfect storm, because what you have is emotional stress, you have bad dietary habits, you have a sedentary lifestyle, and then you have these environmental elements, electromagnetic frequencies and so on. And so it becomes the perfect storm. It's multifactorial. And once you are afflicted, then you go down very, very fast. And we've seen, if we look at seniors, for example, like even in retirement homes, you can tell the ones that have lived a healthy life versus the ones that have lived a sedentary life. With the haunches in their backs, with the posture, with the slow movement, with the arthritis. So there's so many aspects.
dementia.
And dementia.
Dementia.
That's right. That's exactly right. The
Exercise.
mental aspects, the mental acuity
Yeah, and
gets
that's-
compromised.
exploding.
So when we think about these different elements, because we've been covering these R's and we've been talking about the rest, the rejuvenation, and the different elements. When you think about what somebody would ask when they come to you, when they come to your facility, what are some of the things that you're going to assess to determine which direction to take them in first?
Good question. Tracy?
Tracy started smiling like, Heather, you take this one.
I know. No, actually,
I can easily talk to
I
that.
know everybody is it's everything we do is so individualized. Actually, I'll give you an example of what an initial consultation would be. We sit down with somebody and we get a full intake. What's their history? When did their symptoms start? Have they had any surgeries? Those kinds of things. Their emotional state, stress levels, what their diet's like, how much water they're drinking, that kind of thing. Even how often they're going to the bathroom. All those things are really important to figure out, how much they're exercising. Right. And then we actually have a really amazing machine, technology that analyzes frequencies in people's bodies to figure out what the imbalances are, and then we take that information and we decide what direction to go. Does a person need to detox? Does a person have deficiencies? It's a whole body lifestyle analysis that we give them, and we give them suggestions for everything, but everyone is individualized.
Oh, I'm loving that. That is truly 21st century medicine. I'm loving that.
Yeah.
And they can find out more at wellbeingsimplified.com.
That's right.
Awesome. Folks, we're going to continue this conversation. When we get back, I'd like to, as I said, ask a few off-the-record questions here about health and wellness. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back in just a moment with Heather Goodwin and Tracy Southwick. Back in just a moment. We are back. You are listening to Wellbeing Simplified. Folks, if you'd like to reach out to Dr. Tracy and Heather, 713-861-6777. Again, that's 713-861-6777. Be sure to mention that you heard them right here on the Synergy Radio Network. And we have just been sort of really delving into the different aspects of this health piece. And, one of the things that I really like conversationally, we're talking about this just during the break, so is this idea, and Heather, you and I talked about heart math a little bit, and how the heart actually really, really works. Because it's not just a muscle that mindlessly pumps blood through the system. Of course, that's the most crucial thing it does. But maybe you could share with the listeners a little bit more of what the heart actually does on a metaphysical level.
I love that, because when we think about the heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans. And so there's many ways, as we say in Texas, many ways to skin a cat, and that gross. But there's many ways to get...
Not if you're in China.
That's right. It's a different country where they do that. Don't say that to my 12-year-old who worships cats.
Sorry.
But there's many ways to achieve heart health, besides just using this, as you called it, an electromagnetic pump in the body that keeps us healthy and keeps the blood moving through the veins. One way is to exercise the emotionality piece of our heart. And it's also going to make us more cardiovascularly more healthy, but it's also going to make us more mentally healthy. So what do I mean by that? Scientists have found, and there's a name for these scientists, they're called neurocardiologists. Okay, so you heard me. Heart-brain doctor scientists, that the heart is literally another brain in the body. So we really have 3 brains in the body, and Tracy and I call it our GHH axis, the gut, heart, head. We usually just think about the head brain, the cranial brain, but we have a gut brain, and that's a whole other show, but we have a heart brain. And these neurocardiologists have found that our heart has its own nervous system, and that it has 40,000 neurons in our heart area. And neurons meaning brain cells. And that the heart, and it's the reason why we have certain kind of energetic attraction to certain people, be it romantic or be it friendship or just drawn to someone, and we leave and we have energy from that person, is because that brain in our heart space sends out electromagnetic signals up to about 6 feet. I think you and I were arguing about that. You said 12 feet or something. Who cares?
I read 12, but I'll take 6.
Yeah. 6, 12. Depending on how good you are at sending those signals.
Yes.
That is more powerful than anything else in our body. Okay, so it's going to send out an electrical signal that is 60 times more electrically powerful than your head brain, and 5,000 times more magnetically powerful than your head brain. That is why we are drawn to certain people or repulsed by certain people. You know, you can someone walks in the room and you can feel like suddenly you can cut it with a, what do they say, cut the air with a knife. And they bring that energy down, and you feel this negativity, and you're exhausted when you leave their presence. That's their heart talking to your heart. Their electromagnetic energy is a negative, and it's draining. So one way that you can practice this heart coherence, besides just doing your aerobic exercise, getting that cardiovascular benefit from movement, is to move with your emotions. And so heart coherence is a particular exercise that was coined by a group called HeartMath. They have a heartmath.com where they sell products. They have a heartmath.org where they have a multitude of wonderful free tools that you can use. But this heart coherence is an idea of, it's a 3-step process. It's this idea of putting focus on the heart. It's basically a meditation, if you ask me. Focusing on the heart space. Just stop and be mindful and just be grateful. There's your heart doing its job all day long without you having to tell it to do it. So just focus on the heart space. I like to send a color to my heart to kind of ground me in focusing on it. I send a color green, which is the color of your heart chakra. And I just imagine it. It's just sitting right there in my chest space, and I just see it being green, and I just focus on it. There it is, my heart. And then the second step is heart breathing, which sounds kind of strange, but you take air in through the heart. You imagine you feel kind of that cool air going in, and then you let the air go out through the heart, the warm air going out. Because if you feel with your nostrils, the cool air is going in the nostril, the warm air is going out of the nostril. And then just drop down and see if you can almost simulate that same cool air in, warm out of the heart space. The third step is the most powerful, and that's the heart feeling. And that's where we're exercising our emotions. So on purpose, I'm going to feel gratitude. As I'm focusing on my heart, as I'm breathing through my heart, I'm going to think about something that makes me grateful. And it could be very, very simple. It could be just thinking about Nicholas this morning taking his vitamins without me having to scream at him, like as I'm home, right? We made it to school on time, woo!
Yes.
I was grateful for that. It was a good morning at my house. Focusing on peace, focusing on happiness. Choose a positive emotion and just focus on it. Just for 20 seconds. And you have just exercised your heart coherence. And when you walk into a room, you're going to be the power in that room, that positive power, and healthier mind and body.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, heart math.
I love that.
I didn't make it up.
No, that is brilliant. But it's one of those areas that is often either misunderstood or simply not even comprehensible. Most people don't understand that you are communicating with your heart every time you enter a room. And you can either create vibrational positive energy or negative energy, because it could be in the incoherent spectrum as well. When people have hate and distrust and dislike, and vibrationally, if you consider we've got 7 billion of us on this little mud ball that we call Earth, if you've got people that are in pain and suffering, vibrationally, that can affect the entire planet.
Yes, it can.
Wow.
It just reminded me of, as they say, from the heart flows the issues of life, whether it's pain, whether it's happiness, whether whether it's joy. And so that just reminds you that how important the heart muscle really is for you to, if all the issues from your life flows through that, when you walk into a room, whatever you're dealing with, if you haven't settled that peaceful joy, you will give that. So that just brought all that back to memory. So that's really good.
Beautifully said.
You hear people talk about a broken heart all the time. Now we know that there might be more to that.
That's right.
Because you mentioned there's 40,000 neurons in the heart.
Yes.
Now, are there synaptic firings like there is in the brain?
Just like in the brain.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's these neurocardiology, these scientists that are discovering it and making it more mainstream. You alluded to the fact that, one person at a time, was it Michael Jackson that said, the man in the mirror, if you want to make a change. So it's that idea of collective consciousness. And that they're studying, there's I think 6 countries that they're looking at for people practicing this type of heart coherence. And the crime rate's lower, the hospitalizations are lower, health is higher, happiness is higher. Costa Rica is one of the happiest countries in the world. Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, in that case, it's time to move back. I'm done with this city life. Yes, pura vida.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
Pure
they practice
life.
this, pure life. Right?
Yes. That's pretty awesome. I tell you, I love this subject because I think if more people understood this, it could be transformational, not just for our local environment and our local family, but for the planet. Because eventually you will overwhelm all of these sort of negative influences that are taking up all this space. You know, light erases darkness.
So we're not powerless. And
Yes.
that's the big takeaway message is we are not powerless. We can have an impact on our families and then our communities and the entire world.
That's a good point, because I think a lot of people walk around
We feel
feeling
powerless, yeah.
Exactly. Wow, good stuff today. Folks, you have been listening to Wellbeing Simplified here on Synergy Radio. This has been Tracy and Heather. Amazing conversation today. I really like this. This is awesome. So you'd like to reach out to Wellbeing Simplified. There's a few ways to do that. Go to wellbeingsimplified.com. This is being sponsored by the Heights of Health, or you can give them a call at 713-861-6777. Write that down, share it with a friend, 713-861-6777. Share this show.
We have 2 live workshops coming up.
What about those workshops?
Just look on our website. One's coming up January 24th. We'll be keynoting. We've got 2 breakouts. We're going to really go into Wellbeing Simplified. And that's going to be in the Hill Country. If you're in Houston, you really want to get into this, we're doing a 2-day intensive, February 11th. Just look on our website.
Save the date, February 11th.
10th and 11th.
That's my good
10th
friend's
and 11th.
birthday, 10th and 11th. That's nice. And then you have one coming up in a few weeks here in Houston.
That's the one in
The
Houston.
11th.
Oh, that's the one in
February
Yeah, the 10th and 11th
I'm
in
sorry.
Houston.
Yes.
January 24th, we have coming up in the Hill Country area. If you're in San Antonio or San Marcos or Wimberley
And
or
whenever
Austin.
we have an open house at Heights of Health.
Oh, that's right.
On the 18th, next Thursday, an open house. You'll see that on our
Yeah,
website
come
too,
see
so
our
you can see
clinic.
what we
You
do.
want to add?
Next
Yeah.
Thursday. Excellent.
And if you have young girls, I'm actually having a conference too, March 17th. You Are Enough conference for young girls here in Pearland, Texas. So definitely go on to Eventbrite, You Are Enough. Search it, sign up, bring your daughters out, and we're going to have a great time. We have great speakers coming out as well.
Awesome. So we've got the 17th, we've got the 18th, we've got all kinds of great stuff going on. I'm going to be at an event on the 18th. I'm going to try to drop by the Heights of Health before I go there. So folks, come out and meet these 2 amazing ladies. You've been listening to the Synergy Radio Network. Stay tuned next for KB, and we'll be back next week with another conversation here on the Natural Nation Network.